my friends. Well, I enjoyed last week so much that I'm going to do another one. I'm going to colour in a page from a suite. And seeing as it's July, I thought I would colour in Christmas in July. Which makes sense living in Australia because it's cold now. Whereas at Christmas time in Australia it's really warm. I have selected some colours. I'm going to go with some lovely reds, some greens because Christmas is red and green, and some earthy colours for the dog. This one's going to be a bit trickier because the light source is going to be coming from the fire. So we're going to play with that a little bit too. So I'm going to start with this bone down in the bottom here. Colouring with my Ohuhu markers. And this is a warm grey 140. When I'm colouring with these markers, the illustration on the other page is coming through when they're wet, but when they're dry that'll sort itself out. What you have to remember to do is to put a piece of card or paper behind there. And I'm just going to do with the darker warm grey 150, to give it a little bit of shadow initially. Oh, I'm pretty happy with that. Let's get some reds into the bow. I'm going to do red for my socks, I think, and maybe a nice rich green pillow. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this rug, but there's going to be reds and oranges and yellows in the fire. So I might do a red bow to balance the red socks. I might go with a coral red and a coral haze. Actually, I might just go with a coral haze. Coral haze, and for the shadow, I'm going to do some wine red. Beautiful. I'm going to keep going with those colours up on those socks while I've got them out. And remembering that the light's coming from the fire, we're going to shadow away from the fire. I think what we need for the socks maybe is a rose pink. I'll keep it in that red spectrum. I'm just going to use those warm greys that we used in the bone for this wax candle. Now the light source for the candle is coming from the flame, whereas it's shielded from the fire, so I'm going to do my shadows. Using Pastel Peach for the tops of these Christmas socks. It's obviously the night before Christmas because they're empty. I'm also thinking that this little doggy would look really cute with that Pastel Peach as its main colour. And I'm going to use that warm grey 150 to introduce a little bit of shadowing. I'm going to use a brown grey and a walnut for the spots on the dog. So use my brown grey. Oh, we've got that walnut out. Let's start giving ourselves a lovely walnut mantle, shall we? And use our brown grey again. Alright, let's move on to the fire. Let's get some yellows and some oranges in for that fire. Now I think we start with the darker colours, the reds and the oranges in the centre, and work out to the yellows. So I might start with a Canary yellow, or Canaria yellow, and start that on the outside. Don't forget your candle. Now we're going to work into it with some darker colours, so lemon yellow would be the next. I'm just trying to hit halfway between the outline and the flame. I love blending these when they're still wet. They'll merge into each other nicely. And then just a thin, while I'm here I'm going to colour in the inner flame just to base it. And I'm going to bring straight into my orange. And then right in the centre I'm going to have French Vermillion. The candle's transition's just a bit too abrupt, so I'm going to come back in with some of that Melon Yellow. That was the colour I used. Right, let's play with some greens now for the cushion. I'm going to start out with some pale greens. And the pale green, the little seam around the edge. Let's go with some darker greens. Maybe a mint green and a mint green light. So I'll start with the mint green at the bottom. That's a Christmassy green, isn't it? And let's get a mint green light on the top. Just adding some warm grey to the bottom of this, just to darken it a little bit more, even though it is the darker mint green. I just believe there'd be a bit more shadow. I might even try and do a thin shadow line at the base of this thin seam. Excellent. Now we've got to come up with a colour for the rug at the bottom. I am thinking I might bring some of these reds into them, but also some of these yellows, yellow and red. Either that or we could do a dark green. We could do all three. Let's go with the red and yellow. Let's go with my first idea. This is Coral Haze, which is the same colour I used for the ribbon and also for the stockings. I'm going to bring the darker red, the wine red, in for the outer ring. I'm going to go with a fine nib. It'll help me to colour between the lines, people, which seems to be a challenge. Now for the yellow stripe, I'm going with the Melon Yellow, a bit of a darker yellow. I don't want to contrast too much with the dark reds by having a really light yellow. So we'll go with a darker yellow, but not an orange. Now I'm going to grab my Warm Grey 150. I just want to bring some shadows in, especially on that bone. So around the cushion. Didn't really too much, did it? Let's go to the Warm Grey 170. It's up the ante. So things like these little bones sitting on mats, just a bit of shadow can really jump it off the page for you. It still works for enough light is coming through from the fire. Add some shadows to this dog too, just in the deep crevices. Now we come to the tricky part. We want the fire to be glowing in the fireplace, but we also want it to be dark. So maybe bring some of that warm grey that I was just using, the 170, for the outer rim. What I'm going to do is build up the colours on the inside. So I'm going to start out with the lightest warm grey I have, which is well, it's a 150. I want a 140. Just as well I checked. Warm grey 140. Because I really want the fire light inside the fireplace to be warm and inviting. Then I'm going to bring in some of this Canaria yellow and start maybe highlighting a little bit, but not too much. What I might do is come back in with some pencils. I think our markers could be done. We need to just come up with these little colours for the plates. For the plate, we do a melon yellow for the plate. Keep it bright. And for our tacks, I'll go with a warm grey. And I'll go back to our pastel peach colour for the strings. There is our Warm and Cosy Christmas scene. I think it's time, people, to pull out the Polychromos, and let's start building in some colours. And what I'm going to do is bring in some darker reds on top of those boots to start with. I'm just selecting the range within something that's a bit darker, just to bring some texture. What I'm going to try and do is bring in some lighter yellow to highlight, give some of that firelight glinting off. I guess it would be on the toes too, wouldn't it? I'm just adding texture into this rug, just for fun. I'm going to do some highlight glints on these ribbons as well. Just anywhere firelight's going to be hitting. Just trying to bring warmth into this whole scene. Maybe even on the top of this pillow. I'm going to bring in some green, some darker greens just to enhance the shadow and texture on the base of this, on the side that's away from the fire. I don't want to do too much detail on this, I just wanted to add a little bit of vibe and a little bit of texture. It's always fun to colour over your markers, just to add that little bit extra. Well, we're almost there, just going to add a few little white highlights just to give it a little bit more depth. And it's cold today, so this is making me feel just a little bit warmer, which is good. And there you have it, Christmas in July. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. And I hope that you enjoy colouring this picture if you choose to do so. It's from Asleep. A lot of you have got Asleep. It's a great book, fun, filled full of little cute characters who are all asleep. Grab a copy. If that's too sleepy for you, you can get awake. The companion copy, the companion book. Together, Asleep and Awake. Thanks for watching the video today. Hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed colouring it for you. And I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe and push like if you like this video. All the best, guys. I shall see you in the next video.